Since moving in, the carpenters had finished their work, so it's been DIY ever since. There was still quite a lot to be done though. We hadn't received the Fusuma or the Tatami. Lots of little things. The bedrooms weren't finished, and yeah, they're still not. Though I did promise my kids that I'd finish their bedrooms by the end of April, and I'm looking pretty good on that promise. I now have a stronger appreciation for those people who are renovating while living in their houses. It's gotten much harder now having to juggle renovations with daily life. We got through winter pretty comfortably with the wood-burning stove and this kerosene heater that was left behind by the previous owner. I'll talk more about heating in another video. But the wood-burning stove has added to our workload because not only do we have to prepare the wood itself, but I need to build more storage for all of the wood that we've got, as I'd like to move all of the wood that's against the house into storage before summer. The first thing to sort out after moving in was to clean up the main entrance, the Genkan. We had an additional step put in, as well as a handrail and a bench. The original step was pretty high, around 42 centimeters or 16 inches. It used to be more common to sit on the step and put shoes on, which you can still do, but we had another step added for my mother-in-law who struggled to reach that high, as well as to give us the option of stepping straight down into slippers or boots. In the meantime, the Fusuma arrived. Fusuma are sliding panels that are used to separate traditional Japanese rooms. They're made out of wood with a paper or cloth cover. I really like the original Fusuma, but they were in poor condition. The paper was ripped and also stained. Fortunately, we were able to reuse the frames. We wanted a traditional picture like the original, but that was no longer available. Traditional washitsu rooms with tatami, shoji and Fusuma like this one are decreasingly popular these days, and apparently the traditional style nature picture are even less popular. For printed versions, there weren't so many options, but eventually we settled on this peacock on a pine tree on cloth. Now all we need is a real peacock for the garden, but my wife disagrees. The tatami suddenly arrived about a month after we moved in, so we had to rush to get the room ready as we were using it to store our clothes. In a previous video I mentioned that we were planning on moving the horigotatsu, the recessed kotatsu, into this room, but after cutting into the subfloor, you can see the rectangle shape there, we found that the foundations were too narrow to fit the original. We did contemplate making a new base, which shouldn't be too difficult, but for the time being we decided to abandon those plans. We have kept the original just in case. This is Japanese Igusa Tatami. Igusa is a plant in the rush family. As I mentioned earlier, we haven't finished the bedrooms, so we're sleeping on futons. Firstly in the living room in front of the stove, because the tatami hadn't arrived yet, and since the tatami arrived, we have now been sleeping in there. Something we hadn't noticed before was that the pattern in the Kumiko Llama and in the light was the same design. Not only that, but the pattern is again repeated in this window screen over there. By the way, that table is the original keyaki wood table from the other room. Once we have finished the bedrooms and no longer sleep in this room, we'll set the table down in here instead of the horigotatsu. The tatami and Fusuma helped warm the house up, but we're still getting quite a lot of cold air entering the living room and kitchen via the Genkan. We had originally planned to have the Tatuguya-san make us new main doors. Then we had the idea to get antique doors and get the Tatuguya-san to customize them to fit our doorway. We got these doors on Yahoo auction pretty cheaply, but realized after they arrived that they weren't really an authentic antique door. So instead of spending any more money on them, and rather than getting the Tatuguya-san to customize them, I decided to do them myself. And if they didn't work out, we would then get some completely new doors made. One sign you've been watching too many woodworking YouTube videos is that you buy a table saw. Unfortunately in Japan there aren't many options for cheaper contracted table saws, as this segment of the DIY market is not very large. Only a few local options, and I didn't really want to import one from the USA, so I settled on this Makita. If I get further into woodworking, I might upgrade at some point. I made a portable stand for it that joins up to my workbench, as I mainly work outside. The future workshop is still a bit of a mess. I've been using this cedar board available at most DIY stores for a lot of projects, as it's already planed and pretty cheap. Having the table saw makes it much easier to cut it down to size. I routed tongue and grooves to attach the extension pieces to the original doors, and glued and then screwed them. I made them a little bit longer than necessary so I could then cut it down to size. I routed the bottoms and tops of the doors to fit the grooves that the carpenters made, and I also routed the back side of the window so that my wife had a flat surface on which to glue the shoji paper. As the two large posts to either side of the door were hand planed and not exactly flat and square, I made the doors a bit wider than needed so I could fit them myself, and I removed the excess using the saw and hand plane to get as close to the contour as possible. Once that was done, my wife put the shoji paper on, and then I added some tape to the grooves to make the doors slide more smoothly and also to protect the wood. Everyone asks whether I'm going to paint the wood to match the rest of the door. I actually intended that as a design style, but my wife thinks I should paint it, so I guess I'm painting it. The Engawa, this hallway that runs along the outside of the house, was full of boxes of cabinets for the Genkan. These were mainly to be used as shoe storage. I couldn't find the studs behind the mortar wall, so I put in my own supports. I was pretty happy with how it turned out, and the cats liked it too. The rest of the cabinets are for the second new Genkan. This is smaller and serves as easier access to the kitchen and pantry for groceries. Couriers tend to use this door too. After putting shikui on the outside wall, I put in the entrance floor. It was a tricky shape. I considered using ceramic tile or real stone there, but felt that a stone-looking vinyl would be a cheaper and easier option. So after that we could finally clean up the Engawa. I've been working on a few more things in the kitchen, including the pantry and of course the bedrooms, which I'll show in a separate video. As it's spring, I've started doing some work in the garden, but haven't had a lot of time to do it properly. There's still lots to do. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next part.